No special segment today. Throw all the gimmicks out the window. We're just going to talk a specific player and team breakdown here. I want to hear your projections and predictions for Joe Burrow.
Yeah, Joe Burrow is, a hype train himself. Everyone's been hyping up Joe Burrow all, football season long with his incredible run at LSU, winning the national championship, winning the Heisman. And Bengals fans have been hyping him up since about week 12 when they realized who their new franchise quarterback was going to be. So for me, I think the first thing I got to do is put into perspective what the upside is for Joe Burrow in his rookie season. So just to put it in perspective, the rookie record for passing yards is 4,374 by Andrew Luck. And the rookie record for passing touchdowns is 27 by Baker Mayfield. So we look at this, and the upside, if Joe Burrow was to hit both records, he'd have 4,300 yards and 27 touchdowns. I think he's going to have a great rookie season. I don't think he gets quite there in either stat category. I have him right around 4,000 passing yards this season with an incredible receiving core of A.J. Green, Tyler Boyd, John Ross, T. Higgins, who they took in the second round. And I have him in the low 20s for touchdowns. So I think Joe Burrow is going to have a great season. I'll get into why I think that a little bit more later. But right now I have him right in that range of the Kirk Cousins, Teddy Bridgewater range for fantasy football. I think he's not an every week starter, but he's a guy who you can stream off the waiver wire in a good matchup. I think maybe a more consistent Daniel Jones from last year. We saw huge upside from Daniel Jones, but the bottom fell out on certain weeks. I think we might see that same kind of thing for Burrow. I think he'll pop, but I think he'll have a little bit higher floor than we saw out of Jones as a rookie. What do you think, Steph?
We always love the upside and the unknown with rookie quarterbacks, and I'm one of those guys that I love in redraft, taking a quarterback late and taking an upside shot. We talked about some of those names last week, like Ryan Tannehill, Danny Dimes, your boy. But I love the Daniel Jones comp there, and I do think Joe Burrow will be great. I think he'll be better than Daniel Jones was his full rookie season. He's going to make incredible plays on the run. He mentioned, Joe Burrow did on draft day, that he's already been studying the Bengals playbook. And with how quickly he turned things on in college, I think he's ready to make that transition to the pro level. The guy's just shown that he can just hit an extra gear when he needs to and really elevate his game. He's the only player, Alex, last season, only quarterback in all of college football to have a higher passer rating while under pressure. So the average passer rating while not under pressure, to under pressure, was a 32-point drop-off. But Joe Burrow got better by 5 points in his passer rating.
That's crazy.
It is insane. So he is great under pressure and on the run. That's what every great quarterback has to have, and Burrow has it.
Steph, let me tell you, it's a good thing he's good under pressure, because my biggest concern here is that Bengals offensive line. They gave up the 9th most sacks in 2019, and the only things they did to upgrade that O-line was draft a guy in the 6th round and bring in a backup guard from Dallas. So this line is not going to get better out of nowhere in 2020. And I think Joe Burrow could find himself under a lot of pressure as a rookie. So I really am glad that he's able to throw on the run, to throw under pressure. That's a key trait that we look for in NFL quarterbacks. Think, Aaron Rodgers and how he can throw, scrambling out of the pocket on the run. I would love to see Joe Burrow develop that part of his game and learn to make plays and improvise with these weapons.
Right, those play-action bootlegs that we see Aaron Rodgers run all the time where he's scrambling out of the pocket. That's the type of plays and big plays that I think Joe Burrow could make. He's extremely accurate downfield, and I think he'll surprise people with his rushing ability at the pro level. With all that said, though, we got to take the good with the bad. He's on a bad team. He's going to throw a lot of interceptions. Rookie quarterbacks always do. Look at Daniel Jones last year as an example. He had 24 touchdowns and 12 interceptions, so a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. I think Burrow might actually be a little bit higher than that with just how much garbage time and playing from behind and trying to air it out to keep his team in it. We could look at Kyler Murray as another example. He had a great rookie season, 20 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. That's where I have Joe Burrow at in my predictions. I'm still changing back and forth on a few things in terms of his stats, but the Kyler Murray comp is really what you're looking at from an upside perspective. If last year you took Kyler Murray late in redraft, and you were probably pretty happy with it, finished as a QB1 and a guy that you didn't have to burn any draft capital on, that's why I love Joe Burrow in 2020 redraft. And the Arizona Cardinals went 5-10-1 last year, and Kyler Murray won Offensive Rookie of the Year. So you said it on our last pod, Alex. Burrow should be the clear favorite for Offensive Rookie of the Year. He'll be a surprisingly solid fantasy option, and he'll be one of the top fantasy options, I think, in 2021, just like Kyler is here in 2020.
Absolutely. And I have Kyler written down in my notes as well because that's kind of like the benchmark for me. Is he going to be better or worse than Kyler Murray was in his rookie season? Another number one overall pick, and Kyler, we know, won Rookie of the Year. So I look at Kyler's stats: 3,700 passing yards, 20 touchdowns, 12 picks, 500 plus yards on the ground, and 4 rushing touchdowns. And for me, I think Joe Burrow, take out the rushing stats. I think passing, he can easily exceed what Kyler Murray was able to do. Like I said, I think he could easily get close to 4,000 yards. 20 touchdowns should be in the realm of possibility. And 12 interceptions, maybe he throws a couple more if there is some more volume and they're trailing in games and he's pushing the ball down the field. But I think from a passing perspective, he could be close. Now, the rushing won't be there, which definitely caps some of his upside in fantasy. But for me, that's the difference between Joe Burrow being a low-end QB1 as a rookie and a QB2 and a streamable guy like I talked about earlier. So for me, I think if he puts up those numbers passing that Kyler did, maybe he exceeds them a little bit, he's going to win Rookie of the Year. And unless we see a generational season from somebody else, it's really Burrow's to lose. And when I look at this Bengals team, there's nowhere to go but up on the offensive side of the ball. We know the weapons they have. Joe Mixon is an emerging running back. We've talked about the receivers. But the Bengals last season were 30th in the NFL in quarterback passer rating. They were dead last in completion percentage. They only completed 57% of passes. Absolutely brutal. But on the other side of the coin, they were 6th in pass attempts, and they were 25th in points allowed per game. So when you're looking at fantasy football, those two stats right there for a team are exactly what you want when you're drafting a quarterback. They throw the ball a lot, and they throw the ball a lot because they're trailing in games. I think there's going to be some really positive game scripts for fantasy football for Joe Burrow as a rookie because the offense is going to be behind. They're going to need to pass the ball. They're going to need to score points. And with good weapons around them, it could lead to higher volume than we normally see out of rookies for Joe Burrow.
So talking about those pass attempts, where do you have Joe Burrow statted out as of right now, Alex?
I have him right at 560. Kyler Murray, for reference, last season was at 562, I believe. I'll fact check myself on that.
He was at 542.
542, got it. So I do have Burrow for more pass attempts than Kyler Murray, but I just think it's because they're going to be trailing in games. And as a number one overall pick, and after the season he put up at LSU last year, I think Zach Taylor is not going to be afraid to unleash his new weapon. What about you, Steph?
I'm expecting a decent clip of fantasy attempts as well. I have him at 550, and that might go up as we get closer to the season. 550 is like right where Kyler was in 2019. That's on the border of top 10 in the league in attempts. We know Zach Taylor is a guy from a Sean McVay system, so they want to spread that offense out. And last year with Ryan Finley and Andy Dalton, we don't really think of them as true gunslingers or anything like that. And they combined for 615 pass attempts. So the upside in the passing volume, I think, is definitely there for Joe Burrow. The offense, I think, will stall out at times. But all really Joe Burrow has to do to be fantasy relevant and to be an offensive rookie of the year, like you said, like it's his award to lose. He just has to make this team slightly better than they were last year, and that'll be success in terms of his 2020 season. Beyond that, I think he will be a good quarterback in the NFL for a long time. And the only real worry is just kind of the Bengals themselves, their staff, their front office, the organization. Is the belief there? And I think Joe Burrow does bring that belief to them. It's one of those guys that when he steps in the building, just with his pedigree and what he's done in the game of football, kind of elevates everyone around him. So I think there is reason to get excited, but don't want to overvalue a rookie quarterback or even fall on the hype train too hard. But I am excited to see what Joe Burrow can do, and I'm excited really for this Bengals offense. I think there's a lot to look forward to with Joe Mixon, AJ Green returning. I hope he can get back to how dominant he was in his prime. We'll see what happens there. In terms of the pass catchers, Tyler Boyd, John Ross, T. Higgins as well. Who do you have as kind of the alpha there? Are you penning AJ Green in just to be back healthy and just as he was pre-injury?
Yeah, I have AJ Green statted out for a significantly higher number of yards and touchdowns than the other guys. Tyler Boyd's my number 2. I don't think a lot's going to change there. T. Higgins and John Ross will be involved, and I think they'll make some big plays. But barring injury, the pecking order should be Green, Boyd, and then Higgins and Ross might be, give and take snaps here and there.
Yeah, with those injury risks in mind, that does bump Tyler Boyd up for me. I think Tyler Boyd is a very sneaky fantasy option. He's one of those, and we keep pounding the drum. Take wide receivers late this year. There's so much good depth at the position. And last year, if you grabbed Tyler Boyd, you're probably pretty happy with it. I think the same could be said for this season. So he's one I am eyeing late. Think of him in that later tier with guys like Michael Gallup. I love Tyler Boyd in 2020 as a deeper wide receiver option, mid-rounds.
That division is going to be fun with Lamar Jackson's Ravens. We'll have Burrow and the Bengals. We'll have the Browns. Will they have a bounce-back season or will they not? And then we'll have the Pittsburgh Steelers with Ben Roethlisberger coming back. So the AFC North is going to be fun.